Hey everybody, it's Gotsch here, ABC 17 News. Just kind of want to give you some updates on what's going on down here towards Pilot Grove. So I'm currently located on 135. This is going to be just northeast of Pilot Grove. This is going to be in between Pilot Grove and Highway 70. So we had a tornado touchdown. This is going to be confirmed by the National Weather Service down here in northeastern portions of Pilot Grove. So what you're seeing behind me is some of the damage. I've been going around a lot of this morning, kind of just seeing what's been happening. So far, early indications, when I talked to the National Weather Service Storm Survey Damage Team, they were telling me that so far what they've seen preliminary is going to be an EF1, or at least a high-end EF1. Now, that is not the final report, folks. That could be subject to change, but this looks like it was more of a wide event spanning more than a few hundred feet wide, just because the path of this system, well, it looks pretty robust. So let's talk about a little bit with what we're seeing here. It looks like some type of water storage bin, maybe for even a silo here. That's on the side of the road. You can see these trees here all pushed back over, even a little bit of metal, some of that debris. Now, whenever we go on the other side of Highway 135 here, you're seeing a house. Every window in this house looks to have its windows actually blown back out. Power lines going to be down throughout much of the city. We're seeing multiple different utility companies coming back out here. Looks like they're putting more of those power poles back out. That is going to try to be a little bit of relief to hopefully get power back as soon as they can. But folks, it is a lot of power lines down with this system. So if you're going to be out in this area, power is most likely going to be out for quite a bit of time. I mean, look at this, folks. You're seeing some debris out in the field. I'm going to go up over this hill. Got to be very careful, folks, especially when you're out towards these systems, because down power lines everywhere. You don't want to step on those. That can be very dangerous. But you're seeing a lot of these trees. They're pretty bare on the tops and even on the sides. It's pretty impressive, the damage path for this system that we've seen so far. Like I said, this seems to be more of a wide event for what we typically see for this system, especially if it's a higher EF1 like they do say for the preliminary report. So I'm going to be walking up here, giving more of an aspect. You're seeing a house coming up here just on the left of this utility truck. That is going to be a house missing half of its roof. So continue to do this little walk and talk. This is very informal, folks, but a lot of damage, very widespread. I actually spoke with a homeowner just earlier today. Their house was hit. Their roof was intact. Damage to their house, but their entire shed completely fell back over. And that actually left a lot of their vehicles entrapped in there. And there was a pretty good damage path. On top of that, multiple county emergency management services have been out and about doing some work. They had their chainsaws going. A lot of that is going to be due to people were actually having trees down on the roads. They couldn't get to and from their house at the time, but you're seeing their Como Connect actually out here helping out restore some of the power into this area. They're going to continue to put up these power poles as we head towards the afternoon. Now, I want to get a little bit further down on this hill so you can kind of see what we're going to be looking at. This is going to be a pretty good damage path around here for this area. So off to the left here, you're seeing a lot of people been out and about helping. Something you'll kind of see in the distance here, I'm going to come a little bit closer so you guys can kind of understand what I'm going to be talking about. Looks like a trailer for an actual tractor, not a tractor trailer, but an actual farming tractor. The trailer attachment to them, very heavy, made out of steel and big wheels there, was actually completely flipped back over on its side. So a lot of damage here. Looks like there was a line of trees here expanding. This is going to be southwest, back towards a little bit closer towards the north there. That whole line of trees looks to be pretty damaged there, kind of pushed back over. But a lot of the community been out and about helping. Has not been a shortage of emergency management services. So look at this, folks. Even right here off the side of the highway, that is going to be twisted metal that's kind of been thrown back down there. Kind of the same thing. Every tree I've seen, there's a decent amount of metal. And folks, not anywhere too close to me is there actually any metal on this backside of where this tornado would have kind of came from the southwest. So it must have carried pretty far from a little bit closer towards Pilot Grove. So here we are coming up on some of that damage. Looks like a silo and a shed were knocked down right here, and you kind of look a little bit higher in those trees there. That's going to be a power line that has been twisted and thrown around. So we're continuing to look at some of the damage around this area that we're continuing to see. Look at this, folks. I want you to pay attention here. I'm going to get out and around this vehicle here in a sec, just making sure it's clear. There is a lot of debris thrown across this field. So this kind of will give you a little bit more of a kind of perspective of just how powerful this tornado actually was. So we're coming up here, you're seeing these trees all knocked over, all pushed and twisted around. That's indicative of a tornado that comes through, not just straight line winds, a lot of this twisted metal all thrown around. And as you look a little bit further up, yep, there it is, folks. That's going to be that shop that is completely pushed back down. There's a little bit more in depth on the actual house where the window are all blown out on that, missing half of its roof. Look at the bigger trees pushed onto it too there, folks. Pretty impressive stuff here at this point in time. You look out in this field a little bit further out, that is going to be all the damage. Look at all the metal thrown all the way across this field. I mean, this thing went on for, looks like quite a bit of time. Seeing some tires there off to the side of the road, but something we're continuing to track. But we'll continue to give you updates as time goes on. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing pretty good. I mean, considering albeit what it is, yeah.
No injuries, considering all this damage. That's damn lucky.
Yeah, I love to hear that. So folks, we're continuing to go back down here. I'm gonna continue to kind of walk a little bit closer to show you more of that damage. Also do want to say we are live television, so any language, just be aware, can't filter that out. Just want to apologize for that for the viewers, but something we're continuing to track. But look at these power lines, folks, draped all the way up and over this very tall tree. These power lines were actually broke off right here, so it must have pushed the power lines back and a little bit further away. So this is something we're continuing to watch. And folks, I'm going to be walking all around this area and driving around. So in a sec here, I'm going to get back in the ABC 17 storm tracker and we're going to go look at some more damage. But I mean, pretty incredible stuff you're seeing here. I mean, you can look at the wide base of this tree that was just blown back over. Look at this, it looks like somebody's chair. And folks, there's not really anything too close for this system to talk about for this chair here, but we're continuing to track all of this system as we push back through here. There's Pilot Grove Area Fire Department there. Like I said, seeing a lot of resources from all across the region. Seeing a lot of Boone County out here. You saw the electric company was Como for the utilities. But we're continuing to walk around. Pretty impressive. And you heard just there a short bit ago from those guys walking around. No injuries, no deaths reported within this system. But definitely going to be some pretty devastating damage to a lot of these homes, shops, vehicles. A lot of crazy stuff that we're continuing to see. So I'm going to continue to do this walk and talk, folks. You can stay with me as long as you'd like. Pretty soon here in a sec, we're going to go look at some more damage that you're seeing. Look at that. Even this metal here looks like part of somebody's drawer. I want to go ahead and pick this up. Look at that, folks. That's going to be part of somebody's, what seems to be a cabinet or a dresser on there. And folks, we're nowhere close to where the actual buildings for this stuff could have been blown away. Yes, there's a building here. Most likely that debris would have came a little bit closer back towards Pilot Grove as it passed through here, because you're looking off to the southwest. So the path would have came from here and it would have came across 135, jumped 135, and continued back to the northwest. So that's where that path would have been for that system. Look at that. You can see even down there in the fields there, even some more metal there. Looks like part of some silos or even part of a barn that has blown through. That's kind of one thing we've seen. Seen some damage to some homes. Once again, seeing a home right over here. Looks like pretty much all the windows in that home completely blown through. There's a car out there front. Looks like they had a pretty good amount of damage here. Looks like the roof's still intact. Some shingles definitely missing. Trees are completely stripped from that there. But a lot of help making its way out to here. Now, if you do have any plans to travel to this area, folks, just be very courteous. There's a lot of damage. There's a lot of work that's going to have to be done in this area to return it back towards normal. And it's honestly probably best to steer clear of any traffic, especially 135 going through Pilot Grove, all the way to the northeast, back towards Highway 70. So something you're gonna wanna make sure that you're continuing to stay away from at this time. But they're continuing to do a lot of work on these power lines here. I'm gonna go ahead and head back to the storm tracker, get out of everybody's way. And we're gonna continue to track a lot of this damage. Look at this mailbox here, folks. Just completely pushed back over. It looks like it's held up with rebar. You're good, I'm watching him. Going back in here. Very fluid situation here, folks. A lot happening. So you'll just kind of have to bear with me as we continue to go through. But folks, look at that. You got blue skies starting to show. A lot of work to be done here in this area. Another thing is too, folks, it's very dangerous being out here with all the power lines being down, as electric's going to be blowing kind of through these. I'm sure they have a lot of it shut down. Look, that's even part of the power line here. You can see they have something marked there, that way people know. But this was actually blown from one side of the highway back onto the other side. So something you really have to pay attention to, especially puddles with this type of system. Electricity still flowing through, it can carry that current through those puddles, and that can lead to some shock. but some widespread damage, a little bit more in close to that actual house there. That is going to be that house that actually was taken to. Now, folks, I'm going to get back on here in a second. I'm going to move past. So I'm going to hop on here. Stay tuned with us. In about 5 to 10 minutes, I'll be